Australians are racist. I don't think it's how we really want to see ourselves. Like, it's not an easy statement when you go, Australians are racist, but I think you'd say that's how some of the world identify us. I mean, it's not part of our picture we have of ourselves of being free, open-minded, compassionate libertarians. But it's true. I think if we were to be really honest with ourselves, we'd say we are a deeply, deeply racist country. In fact, you have to only look at the fact that there's, God knows how many people at any one time, who've taken flight, refugees, that we can be quite comfortable with the fact that families are completely displaced, sitting somewhere in a detention centre, slowly rotting away while we ascertain whether or not they should have refugee status and be allowed into a country. Because our compassion boat, our empathy boat, our white Christian empathy boat is full and there's no room for Muslims. And it's a little bit like the fact, we would never admit that, but deep down it's much easier to be less compassionate towards people that were a little bit not the same as us. It seems ironic too, doesn't it? Because if you think about it, we are displaced in the same way they were only 250 years ago. We were displaced people ourselves, and the Indigenous Australians didn't really have much choice about whether or not they were going to process us. In fact, we turned around and processed them. And so I suppose what I'm pointing at is lately, it's been in the media, it's something I've always deeply suspected about our Australian psyche and our racism, is that it's still there, even though we don't want it to be or we don't think it is. It's still very much there. In a study done by Sydney University, it came out astoundingly how racist we are. In fact, 28% of people said that they would be concerned if a member of their family, a relative, married an Indigenous person. And I went, wow, that's 28% of people who aren't ashamed to tick yes that they would be concerned. That's 28% of people comfortable with their racism. Wouldn't be talking about the people that wouldn't have answered that question because they're too politically correct to really put how they were feeling because they've learnt to hide it. And it's that hidden racism that I'm talking about, the stuff that leaks out like some sort of toxic poison because we think we've got rid of it. Like at the footy the other day when that 13-year-old girl yells at, Adam Goods for something like ape, which is kind of a horrific thing for a kid to say. And although a kid is just a kid is just reflecting what they hear from their family, what they hear from their community, what sort of sits in the community abroad. And of course the kid got in trouble, as she should have, and then it was left. Funnily enough, the Collingwood president, who is Mr. Eddie McGuire, who was very, very sort of, applauded for the way he handled the whole thing. He was very good. Just a week after that, makes some gaffe, as they call it, an accidental slip, on air where he implies that Goods could actually be doing some promotion on the tour for the King Kong the musical. I don't know how you say something like that by accident. I don't know how that kind of thing just leaks out as an accident. I've never found a statement that's so inherently offensive come out by accident unless there wasn't just the tiniest little bit of white supremacists lurking in that person, if not in all of us, in everyone, that allows that kind of thing for people to actually find that funny, to find it even remotely humorous that you would say that. It'd be like saying, oh, Hitler's quite a nice guy. I didn't mean to say that, was a bit of an accident. It's a little bit revealing. It is that toxic spill, like a Fukushima leak of our little racism that we have. And that's what we have to identify. And just the other day, also in football, which sadly enough, footy is the one area you would have thought in Australia. It was the one place where, Indigenous Australians, for many, many years, it was a great place where we got to see Indigenous Australians playing, being heroes for white Australians and Indigenous Australians. And you thought, this is a great example of how communities can work together. So it's all the more shocking when you see it sort of come out in a field like that, particularly at an Indigenous game where they were celebrating Indigenous players, which seemed even more ironic as well. But David Morrow, ABC celebrated veteran ABC footy commentator, not for AFL, they got a break this time, but I think it was for rugby league, thinks the microphone's off and makes some disparaging comment about Darwin having sort of power out, making a joke about, how the only way you can see black people is at night, ha ha, thinking the radio's off. And then, of course, everyone hears it. But you don't say those things things by accident. What I'm saying is, what's an accident is that people are starting to accidentally let slip their race, their hidden racism. That was what the accident is. I don't even think people are even conscious of what they're doing. So I really think it's time that we as a nation, as white Australians, because I'm so embarrassed, how embarrassing, that we really need to say sorry again and again and again until we stop doing it. Otherwise, we're all going to be featuring on Eddie McGuire's new hit Australian program, Who Wants to Make the Next Racist Australian, Who Wants to Make the Next Racist Slur. Might see you on it.